Going to continue my theme this week of talking about discomfort and just trying to understand like the source of it better. And what I'm struggling with at this point, so I'll kind of stick with just working through some thoughts here in this video, is like, again, what's the source of discomfort? And there's a theory or hypothesis I have that the source of it is it's all rooted in these base value drivers. There's base level things, almost like animalistic, instinctual things that drive us ultimately, right? The need for food, survival, to procreate, things like that, maybe family relationships. And that's what drives us. And what happens is our mind uses all the tools at its disposal to optimize for those value drivers. So if it sees a risk to one of those, it wants to do everything it can to address that risk, because that's why we're on this earth, is to deliver on those value drivers. Now, our mind has gotten so sophisticated that one of its tools is to proactively try and assess that, oh, down the road, that thing might be a problem. It might cause a problem and go against one of these value drivers, and that's where discomfort comes in, right? And that's the problem we have. That's what we would view as perhaps a mental flaw. Our ability to, think that somebody says something mean to us and we get super upset about it. Well, if you trace it all the way back to the root, we think maybe that person's going to kill us, because if we disagree with them and tell them we don't like what they said, maybe it turns into a physical altercation, and then they kill us, and that's bad. So that's just an example, but that's how it would root or trace back to those base value drivers. But where I struggle is there's some instances where it seems like it's difficult to trace it back to a base value driver, right? If I'm sitting in traffic, or I'm driving and somebody in front of me is driving really slow, and that just bothers me, right? That annoys me that person does that. Or you can think of all sorts of other examples where it seems like there's not a clear tie back. It seems like our mind, and this gets to things also like identity issues, right? I'm making it up, right? I'm a staunch liberal and I believe certain things, and if somebody says something or disagrees with my view, that bothers me, right? That upsets me. Why, right? Is there a clear tracing back to, I think I'm going to die, or I'm not going to be able to eat, or I'm not going to be able to protect my family? It's a harder sell to believe that that's the case. So it seems like we go away from these base value drivers possibly, or at least our mind does, and forms these other things. And I'm just trying to understand, like because I always want to understand the first principles to the extent I can, and maybe I can't. What's like the adaptive evolutionary reason for why our mind would have ever started to develop those identity issues, would have started to develop these triggers that cause us discomfort, even though you can't really trace it back to anything. You can't, even if it's flawed logic, right, or bad math, as I would say, many things you can trace back. What about the ones that you can't trace back? Me sitting in traffic, right, just annoyed because the person's driving too slow in front of me. I'm not going to die from that. I'm not, my family's not in any danger from that. It doesn't impact my ability to procreate or anything else that it would seem, right? Family, relationships, any of that stuff. It's just an inconvenience. It's just something that's annoying. But why? Why does my mind register that as annoying? Why does it create that discomfort there, right? It's created this other scenario, which is difficult to find the source of, other than that it's just annoying. And I guess this gets to the point, which I've talked about in the past, of that, which isn't a novel idea, but a lot of people will say that much of our discomfort is not real. It's all based on expectations. We have an expectation that people should drive faster or should drive the speed that we want them to drive. And when they don't, that bothers us, which I buy. I don't think that's wrong. I think that is probably an explanation for this, but I still wonder why. Why did we start forming those expectations? Why did we start to believe things should be a certain way, and then therefore when they're not, even if it's not impacting us at a root, base animalistic level, we're still bothered by it? What's the benefit of it, right? Why did our mind go to that place? Why did it decide, our minds, right, collectively as we evolved, why is that a feature that got built in? Or is it just a bug? Is that a bug that developed in some way? And that's what I struggle with, because that's the hole in the theory, right? The whole base value driver theory doesn't really account for that, unless there is some really convoluted logic that gets me from I'm sitting in traffic and that's bothersome to one of those things. Like maybe I'm going to be stuck in traffic forever and I'm not going to be able to eat anymore, or I'm going to be late to whatever I need to get to, and then I'll be late to the next thing, and then maybe I'll miss something for work, and then I'll lose my job, and then I'll be living on the street. Maybe the whole idea of our mind catastrophizing and just playing out And if there's any risk that something's going to go wrong, it triggers that discomfort. Like our mind has become too, I don't want to say too good because it's really not a good thing, but it's become too capable of trying to predict the future and estimate where risk may come in or where danger might be. And we just way overcompensate for it. It's possible. It's possible those two things go together, but it's just not clear to me at this point. So I need to do some more thinking on that.